I'm Sal Rodriguez, and we're checking out the Samsung Galaxy Gear. This is the South Korean tech company's brand new smartwatch, and it's a new kind of device. They're called wearables, and in this scenario, it's essentially wristwatch meets smartphone. That's because you have a touch screen, you have camera, and you can make calls. Additionally, you can also run apps on the device. This is a totally new kind of gadget, so even for a tech reviewer like me, it was a little tricky getting into it and figuring it out. But once I spent just some little bit of time with it, I was totally able to manage. You scroll to the sides to see your favorite apps, and if you scroll far enough, you eventually get to your app menu. There you can see the stock apps that come installed on the device, such as a pedometer or a timer, stopwatch, that kind of thing, and you can also manage it so that you can install other apps developed by third-party companies. So far there aren't too many, but if it grows, it could be pretty interesting. Some of the top functions that I found for the device were making calls, sending and receiving text messages, and also taking pictures. To manage the device though, you can use your hands, but it's a pretty small screen. It's only about 1.6 inches. So really what you're going to be doing is using S-Voice, which is essentially Samsung's version of Siri. You can tell S-Voice to text somebody, or you can give it a number to dial. It was pretty convenient to make calls with this device, especially while I was driving. You know, I have the microphone right there facing my way and the speaker as well. But the quality was not too perfect. It definitely sounded very tinny, and it was kind of hard to hear even when I was alone in my vehicle. So if you were to use this in crowds, not only would you look kind of ridiculous and sort of like a spy, but you probably wouldn't be able to hear what the other person's saying to you. What I probably found it most useful for was for taking quick snapshots of things that, you know, I don't really care about the quality too much. So if I was at an event, I can quickly press the shortcut to launch the camera, and then all you simply do is face your wrist whichever way you're trying to shoot, tap the screen, and it shoots a photo. You can also switch it so that it'll take video, and that'll be in 720p HD, snippets of 15 seconds each. So you won't get, you know, Canon-like quality on this gadget, but definitely something that you can share with your friends, and even some photos that you wouldn't mind posting on Instagram. As for the actual look of the gadget, I thought it looked just fine. You know, this isn't the greatest design. We're not talking about Johnny Ive from Apple here, but I thought it looked really cool. As far as blending in, no one really ever noticed that this was anything other than a regular wristwatch until I did start using it to take photos. Otherwise, they just thought it was, you know, another watch on my wrist. But I know that some people aren't the biggest fans of it. For example, it's got some big screws here that stand out. So it's kind of a give or take. You're going to have to check it out to really form your own opinion on the actual gadget. One thing that really impressed me about the Galaxy Gear was its battery life. On paper, Samsung says that it gets 25 hours. But based on my usage, which is pretty light, you know, I would only wake it up to see the time, send text messages, and take pictures here and there, it lasted me a pretty good amount. It actually lasted me more than one day without having to charge it. Of course, this will all vary on how you use it, but I like the battery life. So while there's a lot to like on this device, there are some critical flaws. For example, I really couldn't find a single third-party app worth installing on here. So there was one app that will take a picture of wine labels and tell you the kind of wine, but it really didn't seem too useful, and that's kind of the case here. So you're really limited to what Samsung has already built into the gadget. The other thing is that you can really only use this device for text messages, and I'm not counting photo and video messages, simply text messages, and for making calls. So if you get an email, if somebody tweets at you, if somebody posts on your Facebook, right now this gadget won't be able to notify you. The other major problem is that for now, the Galaxy Gear will only work with another kind of device, and that's the Galaxy Note 3, this phone that just came out recently. Samsung says it's going to expand the compatibility to work with other devices such as the popular Galaxy S4, but for now, if you are an iPhone or any other kind of Android user, you won't be able to use this, and if you're a Samsung user, you're going to have to get the Galaxy Note 3, which by itself is already pretty expensive, and then you add the actual cost of the Galaxy Gear, which is $300. You know, if you buy it from some places such as T-Mobile, for example, you're talking about a $1,000 price tag at that point. All in all, it's a very neat and very interesting device. If you're an early adopter or a total techie and you want to buy this, it'll be totally worth it. You will love it. It'll be a very fun toy to play with. But otherwise, you should probably hold off and see what Samsung has coming next. For more tech news and tech reviews, follow me on Twitter at Sal19.